For today, for this particular session, I'm going to be your moderator. I know it's early morning and guys are still waking up, guys who snooze their alarms, so please, I just want you to turn to your neighbor and give them a high five and tell them welcome. High five, high five, a real high five. Good. That is fantastic. Just awake. I'm awake. I'm alive. I'm alert. I'm enthusiastic. Say after me, I'm awake. I'm alive. I'm alert. I'm enthusiastic. Can we just stand for a minute so that I show you how to demonstrate how people wake up? And because this is a youthful session, you need to be a little youthful, right? So let's say I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alert, I'm enthusiastic. I'm enthusiastic. I'm awake, I'm alive, I'm alert, I'm enthusiastic. I'm awake. You can't wake up like this. Okay, let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to this urban stream. This urban stream has been made possible by the UN Habitat. Let us give them a round of applause. But this urban stream is also special because even though it has been organized and it's being hosted by UN Habitat, it's been generous to invite other partners to co-host this particular urban stream. And you'll hear a lot, not just about the UN and the UN Habitat, but you'll hear different perspectives from different actors. And we want to thank UN Habitat for that. Our hashtag, and please tweet, and if you're not on Twitter, sign up like immediately before this session starts. We want you to tweet, and it is free. Wi-Fi is free. You don't use your bundles, okay? Wi-Fi is free. The hashtag that we are using for this particular urban stream is UrbanYCA, hashtag UrbanYCA 2018. Hashtag UrbanYCA 2018. And then we also have translations. For English, it's channel 1. And for French, bonjour is channel 2. So if you want to, tune to French. French is channel 2 and English is channel 1. Without much ado, I want to welcome our panelists today. We have a very able panel, extraordinary, exceptional people who have amazing experience. And we'll be discussing innovations, keywords, if you want to pick up keywords, innovations, policies, partnerships, and of course, financing. And our panel, we have, I want to welcome on stage Dr. Naomi Makau, who is the county executive in charge of education and youth and ICT in Makueni. Dr. Naomi Makau. Makau came with her funds, eh? Yeah. And next we have Rose Kefas. Rose Kefas is from Nigeria, and she's a special assistant in the office of the president of Nigeria on SDGs. Let us give Rose a round of applause. And then we have a young man who has been representing youth at the global stage. That is none other than Lawrence Muli, who is the program officer at the Commonwealth Secretariat. Let's give Lawrence a round of applause, really. And next we have a gentleman from Uganda. He's a youth engagement officer with Plan International, and his name is Dennis Omala. Let's give Dennis a round of applause. And then we have a fashionista in the house, a fashion designer. He's called John Kaveke. And John Kaveke is one of the best African designers. So we should give him a round of applause as he gets on stage. We have a gentleman who's come all the way from Mogadishu, Somalia. He's doing amazing work. He's an expert on peace-related issues, and he's doing amazing work in terms of ensuring that young people are involved in peace building. Ali Fido. Later on, we'll be joined by two panelists who have asked more time so that they can go through their notes to make sure they have solid stuff to present to you. And they will be joining us on stage shortly, but we'll start with this panel. Let's give them another round of applause. Just as a way of starting, before I get to my panelists, I was looking, because we'll be discussing a lot about urbanization in this session. And I was just looking at statistics, and they say now, 2016, 2017, there were only 54% of the world population that lives in cities and towns in terms of urban areas. But by 2050, we'll have about 68% of the world's population moving from rural area to urban areas. And that means that urbanization is a reality. It is unstoppable, and what we need to do is to find ways of managing it. As many more people move to the cities, as many more people move to the towns, the question is, are we ready? Are we able to adapt and ensure that we have proper housing, we have decent jobs, we have clean water, and that we have proper infrastructure to accommodate people who are moving to urban areas and town. Even though we have a panel here, you guys are also experts in your own right, in your own field, so we'll have engagement. So don't feel like this is a class that these are lecturers and you're students. Don't just take notes. There'll also be an opportunity for you to make comments and also to engage. So prepare your questions. You should give them exams, prepare your questions and feel free to interject. But whenever you're given a chance, please, don't turn this into a political rally to mobilize votes. Please just be brief and to the point. Keep it short and simple. Let us give all of us another round of applause. To my panelists, and we'll start with Naomi, who comes all the way from Makueni, like I did say, and they came with a whole bus of young people from Makueni. Makueni? Yeah! Congrats, thank you so much. And Makueni is one of the 47 counties in Kenya. As it stands now, these are not official records. These are just my own observation. Makueni is one of the outstanding counties back in Kenya, and I can say without fear or favor that is one of the outstanding counties in Africa. There is approximately about 350,000 youth in that particular county out of a population of a million people. So we can rightly say that Makueni is quite youthful. They are implementing interesting program on youth empowerment and capacity building. And I just wanted Naomi to tell us a little bit about that, and also what development actually means to youth in Makueni. Naomi.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. As you have been told, I come from Makueni County in Kenya. It's basically a rural county, about 150 kilometers from Nairobi. In Makueni County, as the moderator has said, we have about 350,000 youth. That is about 35% of our population. As a county government, we have come up with a multi-sectoral approach to youth empowerment. We do realize that our youth need to be assisted to get empowered and also to be able to do things in a different way. We realize that our youth are gifted in different areas. We have youth who are gifted in ICT skills. We have youth who have a lot of interest in agribusiness, and basically in every different aspect. So as a county government, we have come up with strategies to empower our youth based on the things that they like. For instance, we have youth who have a lot of interest in ICT. We, as a county government, have left the youth to come up with their own innovations, but as a government, we are provided the infrastructure. As a county, we have what we call community information centers, where we provide computers and internet. And therefore, any youth is free to work in those centers and come up with their own innovations, come up with their own ideas, and then they can be able to scale them up. On another front, we have youth who want to develop in their technical skills. And therefore, as a government, we have come up with county technical training institutes. Our county is very vast, and so we have a total of 46 county technical training institutes. We have taken it upon ourselves to equip some of them to very high standards. We call them centers of excellence. And in these centers, youth can work there at very, very subsidized costs, study different aspects of technical training. There are those who are interested in technical, in construction. There are those who are interested in the fashion design, in hospitality, and any area of technical skills. So we have equipped those centers. We have competent instructors, and the youth are free to work in there. They are highly accessible because we believe that the youth have what it takes. They are the ones who we expect to sort out their interests, and we realize that our youth are gifted in diverse things. One of the things that we are promoting is the issue of housing, and that is why we are saying in all our centers, we have construction, masonry, carpentry as one of the trades that are offered in those centers. We are promoting a program of affordable housing with some of our partners. And so we want to encourage the youth to get involved and also to come up and just study on different ways of coming up with affordable housing, even in the rural areas and also in our urban centers. So as a county government, we want to provide the infrastructure. We are provided the facilities. We are concerned with what we are calling the Makueni Youth Empowerment Service, where we want every youth to take control of their lives. We have seen that some of our youth, despite having gone very up in academics, some have degrees, others have diplomas and all that, but we have realized that despite one having a degree in law or in commerce and all that, we have seen some of them coming up with a different line of innovation. We have a lot of youth coming up with innovations in agribusiness. They want to do farming in a different way. They want to do value addition in a different way and all that. So as a county, we are committed to youth empowerment and provision of opportunities for them to innovate and be creative.
Thank you so very much. You can tell truly she's a real champion and ambassador of Makueni, yeah? And you can see the way people are following your conversation. It's like everyone wants to come with you to Makueni. Maybe you guys should launch a Makueni Express so all of us can live here and get to Makueni. Let's give Naomi a round of applause. Thanks, Daktari. And I like what you said about developing strategies to empower youth in the areas that they like. So it's about youth driving development. That's quite amazing. We'll get back to you later. But now to Rose. Rose is largely involved in on issues of sustainable development goals. Perhaps you could share with us a little bit some of the innovative ways through which you are trying to realize sustainable development goals, so to get youth on board in terms of engaging in sustainable development goals. And does sustainable development goals even mean anything to young people? And actually in Nigeria, they have a slogan. They say, build the youth and build the nation. Destroy the youth and destroy the nation. Karibu, Rose.
Thank you for inviting me, and I commend the UN Habitat team. And it gladdens my heart to see the quality of participants here for us to discuss young issues. So I bring greetings from Nigeria. I can't tell Nigerians to raise their hands because we are few here, but we can be loud. Okay. Okay, so basically, I work for the Office of the SSA to the President on SDGs. So basically, we lead the leadership in the How many of you know about the SDGs? Raise your hands.
That's good.
How many have never heard about the SDGs? UN Habitat, next time, please put the goals around. So basically, for us as government, we have different ways in which we have used. Of course, everyone knows technology is an enabler for us to achieve the SDGs. So one of the ways we've involved young people is the government has built several hubs across the nation in geopolitical zones, and we throw hackathons on how to address social issues. Like we have hubs where today we want to address zero hunger, we do that as well. So in terms of innovation, Nigeria has seen that we have the most resourceful young people, very youthful. We have 60 million young people less than 25 in Nigeria, and so we know that at the heart of the SDGs, the young people have a role to play. We've done different things in terms of innovations, and I can give examples. And also as entrepreneurs, the government has set up like a PEBEC community, ease of doing business, and making entrepreneurs, particularly the MSMEs, to thrive. And we have good examples of young people in Nigeria who have shown the world that through technology we can disrupt things. E.g., we have like budgets who have every year, they break down the budgets to show transparency in government, so it's no more business as usual. So if where they see red flag or gray areas, they break it down, go on social media, and you don't want to, when Nigerian youth come on social media, you're dead. So they've broken in terms of, they've addressed the SDG 16 for transparency, accountability. We have the hubs who are using technology to transform and address issues of peace, justice. We also have like the Not Too Young to Run bill, which was recently passed by the YEGA, Youth Advocacy Agent Initiative, and it was thrown out, but trust us, we marched on the streets, including me, despite I'm in government, and the bill was passed. And so these are different ways in which young people have tried to say, look, it's no more business as usual, and we work with them to address the SDGs.
Thank you so much. Let's give Rose a round of applause. Let's give her a proper round of applause, really. She comes from Nigeria, and applause means a lot, And she's just saying she's part of government, but she marched against government when it came to the issues of young people. That's amazing, Rose. And, she talks about the issue of that young people are not just a problem or people with a problem, but they are also the solution. And we've been told, and we know truly, that the greatest asset that we have in this continent is nothing else but young people. The skills, the capacity, the energy, the enthusiasm, the talent that we have is what can help to grow this county. And this continent. I'm happy with the work that Rose is doing. Let's give another round of applause to Rose. And now to Lawrence Muli. Lawrence started from the community, moved to the African Union, but now he's moved to the global stage. He's now a big shot. In fact, you can tell truly. He now sits at the Commonwealth as a program officer, and at the Commonwealth they are trying to support young people with help countries to develop policies and provide technical assistance that can help young people to engage in entrepreneurship. They are even launching what they call the Commonwealth Innovation Hubs for young people. Perhaps, Lawrence, you could share with us first the importance of policies, having the right policies, but also how can we make sure that these policies are youth-led? They are implemented, but they are also youth-led.
Thanks, Raphael. I'm not a big shot. I'm actually from the neighboring Makueni County, Machakos County. So
now,
it's just the one next to the big Makueni County that is, doing everything. And I'm very honored to be here with a team from there. I think, firstly, let me just mention that before I get into like the work that we're doing in the innovation, I was here yesterday and I had all the discussions and all, and I've been to hundreds of youth conferences. And I think it's high time as young people we move from the rhetoric that we've always been talking about, problems that affect us, issues that affect us. We're very good in highlighting where the gaps are. And I can assure you that if we don't take the responsibility to actually take the honors to move things forward, you'll come here next year and talk about the same thing. Use different words, different synonyms, but address the same problems, in the same way, maybe a bit more passionate. But where is the gap, and what can we do differently? I think, firstly, and this is something that we are trying to do, is bridging that policy gap. I mean, Africa has the highest number of policies and frameworks and platforms you can think of, and the challenge comes in the implementation of it, and that is really need to invest heavily. Anytime we become a bit more a bit more strategic in the way we engage in space, in policy space. All of you here from elite, you are a minority of young people who, have the opportunity in the space and access to decision-making spaces like this. So just ask yourself, the millions of young people who would have loved to be here, what are you representing in terms of like their interests, their priorities? You're here on their behalf. So coming here to ask about inclusion and access, which is what 10, 20 years, is not only repetitive, but we're not doing justice to the young people who are being affected with all the things that Raphael was raising, from affordable housing to unemployment and underemployment. So the first thing I think as young people is, before coming to meetings like this, just find out what already exists. Then do a peer review, do a youth mainstreaming approach to it, get the gaps that exist, and then come and address decision makers with actual solutions to the issues, as opposed to raising what the problems are. And I think that's one key thing that as young people we need to prioritize, and we actually need to work and act upon. And I think there are enough opportunities that are there. And the key thing here is, there's nothing special about being young. Sorry for saying this. It's a transition period. Everybody went through, including the ones who are young at heart here. And it's a transition period that you need to leverage, make the most of, create a better enabling environment for people who will come after you. And that means that you need to invest and ensure that you are thinking constantly out of the box to leverage the opportunities that are there. But coming out to innovations and touching a bit more on the importance of diversifying the way we approach things. We, at the Commonwealth, we are working very hard to ensure that we can contextualize the policies and programs that we make to issues that are actually affecting young people from the ground. We're actually helping Kenya right now do, and a number of other Commonwealth countries do, a youth mainstreaming framework, which is looking at an ecosystem approach to inclusive development planning for young people. And that definitely then means that we need to prioritize the inclusion of young people within these spaces to shape the policy process, but also to ensure that the innovation and creativity that comes with young people's engagement is actually, substantive and is adding value, and is constantly telling the leaders what needs to be done and how it needs to be done differently. So I think mine is a challenge. We've talked about the issues way too many times. It's high time we become a bit more resolute about the solutions and know what exists, but above all, leverage the space, the networks that we have to actually influence the change we want to see.
Amazing. Let's give him a round of applause. Lawrence reminds us that we should stop agonizing and start organizing. That young people cannot only be pointing out problems, but you should also be providing solutions. We've been pushing a lot for having a seat at the decision-making tables. Some of us have gotten seats at the decision-making tables, but the question is, have we done what needs to be done in terms of bringing the ideas and truly representing young people effectively in those positions? I was in Liberia 2 years ago, and I was being told of this very interesting story of a young man who was always critical of the government, was always complaining a lot. And he was a student leader, and then he happened that he was appointed in the Ministry of Labor as a Minister of Labor. His friends, there were still problems in the Ministry of Labor. So his friends called him and asked him, how come you're not, he said, no, but you know when you're in government, things are different now, you know. So I think most of us sometimes get these positions and then we start operating, we start doing business as usual. But I think Lawrence is reminding us that no, once we get there, we must be constructively disruptive for the benefit of young people. Let's give him another round of applause. And now to Dennis Johnson, who comes from Uganda. He is the youth engagement manager, and he refers himself, to himself as an innovation enthusiast. You know, he dreams, eats, and thinks everything technology. And he's part of the Plan International, and they've come up with an interesting model. I think it's an app called the Smart Factory. And I think Dennis is going to share that with us. And also, I think, Dennis, you can also talk to us a little bit about how you guys have been able to reach out to government, to partner with government for sustainability of some of the models that you've come up with.
Thank you. Good morning. Please join me. Today is our 56th independence in Uganda. So we're celebrating. We are glad to be independent up to now. I'm glad to be here. Like he said, I work for Plan, but there's a project that I do run called the Smarter Factory. It's something that is so passionate, it's like more personal almost. The Smarter Factory, we believe that innovation should not be left to people in the academic sector or those who are in the Silicon Valley or researchers. We thought that there's a vast majority of young population that innovation do not think about. And so our interest is to bridge the gap between the academics, those but target those who have not been privileged to get very good education, but have interest in creating opportunities. So our idea is about creating hubs across the country, of which this hub can be able to build opportunity for every young people, especially in the urban slums, the ghetto areas, to have access to opportunities, access to internet, access to technology, access to all sorts of opportunities that academic institutions or innovation villages do have. So we created to bridge this gap. In Africa, for instance, the digital gender divide, almost 45% of girls do not have access to technology or do not have that opportunity. And it gets worse when it comes to individual countries. The idea is that how do we create opportunity for even girls and boys to be able to look at creating and innovating as something that you don't have to wait to go to the universities or academic institution to start being creative. So the Smart App is basically creating an opportunity for young people to be able to start from the young age to be able to change the society around them.
Thank you very much. A round of applause. Thanks. Dennis says that we must make technology, available, accessible, and affordable for young people, and that innovation should not be something that is just left to the experts. It should be something that young people can get means and ways of innovating, and in their diversity, whether it is young people in the rural areas, in the urban areas, in the informal settlement, whether they're young people with education or, have not been able to get the kind of education that many people have. And so I think that is very, very important in terms of helping young people to be able to use technology, to create opportunities. I think that is great. And now to John Kaveke. John Kaveke, like I said, is a fashionista. People in the room, I think, if you are young, you should get in touch with Kaveke after this, or even young at heart, and you love fashion. He's a fashion designer. But it is interesting that we have him in this panel because we are discussing issues of, urban policies, urban planning, programs in cities and towns, and then all of a sudden someone who does fashion and design shows up. So we just want to understand why is John Kaveke here? Why fashion? What's the connection between fashion, data, technology, and smart cities? And just recently, John was also one of the, three fashion designers from across Africa, Kenya, South Africa, and Nigeria, representing big cities, Lagos, Nairobi, and Joburg, who are partnering with Samsung, and they were implementing a fantastic project. So he's really iconic, and he's a celebrity also on this panel. Let's give him a round of applause as he responds. So yes, Kaveke, you'll share with us a little bit about the relationship between fashion, data, and technology and smart cities. But you'll also share with us the role of the private sector in terms of supporting emerging or young entrepreneurs. What is the role of the private sector?
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank you for making time this early morning to be able to listen and to engage with us. I'll just quickly go into a little understanding, because I'm sure the curiosity about why fashion is like, I could see it. I know I can't tell what's in your minds, but I can tell that there is definitely a curiosity about it. But what's interesting is, just to give you an idea, is that a lot of people see fashion as just a fake, it's just a superficial thing. But if you look at the statistic, is that we have about a $3 trillion GDP on the global market, sorry, and then the fashion industry employs over 60 million people. But what's interesting is really for you to be able to see it from a point of view, not only as an innovation, but also how fashion can be a sustainable way in addressing the issue of urbanization. And I think that's the space I would like, at this point, to allow me to just take you through the journey of, how smart cities and the project that I was involved. So I have a little slide that you'll be able to understand a little bit more in depth on what exactly it was. But on a quick, it was basically a project where we were engaged on understanding how data can be relative in addressing the issues that are in Africa. And I like the way Muli has highlighted the fact that, yes, we talk about solutions, but are you in the space? Are you creating your own space to create solutions for Africa? Because we can talk about issues, but are we talking about the real issues? Are we harnessing data in our own spaces to understand how each city ticks, how each city works? And this project was basically an idea of how we can use things like power grids, matatu lines. Matatu lines are transport within in our countries. And we took three main areas. That was the famous JKI, the airport, the industrial area, and a very unconventional place we call the bus station. And what the idea is, beneath every African city, there lies a pattern. And those patterns are basically what we used to create the story about how to address the issue. And for me, as a fashion designer, it was really, how then do you take this information and turn it to something that can be more than just being known for the fashion, but now addressing issues to do with our cities. So as you look at the clip, it's basically, those are information based on data that was harnessed by Siemens, but more so, it's idea that for me as a brand, is to take it to another level. That is why I sit here, because I want to talk about more addressing the issues and entering into the space where me and you can partner to create a story for cities that are within Africa.
Amazing. Let's give Kaveke a round of applause. Kaveke is a real example of what we are always told, that use whatever you have to make a difference. Many of us imagine that you need to be an expert in a certain area, you need to have gone very far in your education for you to make a difference. But Kaveke reminds us that he's a fashionista. Imagine a fashionista talking about urban planning, about urban policies, about smart cities.
Data.
So you can use whatever you have, talent, skills, experience, whatever you have to make a difference wherever you are. So Kaveke, that's quite amazing. And now to Ali. Like I said, Ali comes all the way from Mogadishu. in Somalia, and he's going to share. He's a peace expert. He's going to share with us a little bit about what they are doing in Somalia. Remember, Somalia is a very different environment. You know, they are trying to get stable now, but it's a sort of a post-conflict environment, which is really a unique environment. And Ali is going to share with us a little bit about what they are doing. But I also just want to mention a little bit, because I know Ali is on this panel, but also we are going to have Ms. Abdi later on in the next panel, who will also, she's also doing projects in Somalia, and Shameka too, but they're going to discuss with us a little bit about what they're doing and the projects that they're implementing. But I had a story about Somalia, and they say that there are two kind of people in Somalia. There are people we call landlords, and the people we call tenants. And you know what happens with a tenant? If the house is leaking, or if there's a problem with the house, what does a tenant do? They move out to go and look for another house. But for a landlord, if the house is leaking, if the house has a problem, the responsibility of a landlord is to fix that house and make sure that it's proper, it's functioning. And so what some of these programs are doing, Ali and Ms. Abdi and Shameka, trying to do is to make young people be landlords and say, look, you do not have to leave. We need to fix the problems here. We need to make this place a place we can call home. And so I think it's quite amazing to have Ali in this panel. Let's give him a round of applause. So Ali, tell us a little bit about what you're doing, and especially with UN Habitat on One Stop Youth Center, and how you guys are trying to get young people on board.
Thank you. In Somalia, as was the conflict context, the establishment of One Stop Youth Center is fundamental in driving the development of urban youth. The inspiration of establishing One Stop Youth Center started from here, Kigali, when a group consisting of UN Habitat team and officials from Mogadishu municipality paid visit to Kigali's Kimisagara One Stop Youth Center to learn lessons. And of course, the One Stop Youth Center is a place for opportunities that has been missing long term in Somalia's history. One Stop Youth Center provides these opportunities to obtain the same work for urban youth. And so far, the center trained more than 700 young persons in skills of tiles production and making paving blocks to contribute the country's already booming construction. So the One Stop Youth Center is not only about providing technical and vocational skills, but also it provides real opportunities that can empower youth, meaningful participation in decision making, and give voice to develop a safe space that is truly owned by young persons.
Amazing. Safe space for young people. And we remember International Youth Day this year was about creating safe spaces for young people. Let's give Ali a round of applause. I think two other important things that he mentions is about learning from each other. He says that young people from Somalia came here in Kigali. I mean, they are here in Kigali to try and also learn how Kigali has been able to establish a sort of youth center or one-stop youth center, and so they can implement such at home. And I think the responsibility that we have as a young generation in Africa is to learn from each other. Not everything has failed in Africa. There are many things that are working, so how can we replicate and scale up these? But also importantly is providing young people with skills. What they're doing in Somalia, I think, is extremely important. How can we provide young people with skills that can help them to engage and to create opportunity? Thank you so much, Ali. Now, because I'm just a facilitator, I don't want to hog your time. I want to also give you a chance, because you didn't just come here to listen. You also came to share and also to engage. So I'll open it up for any of us with a comment or question to any of the panelists. please feel free to direct it either to a specific panelist or just to, hey, guys are already ready here. These are guys who got the memo and did their homework, and now they're ready. Just a minute. So I'm going to give you guys a chance, and please shoot your question to any specific panelist, or if it's a general question, also let us know. If it's a comment, please keep it brief. Let's have more questions. And if it's a comment, please, again, I say, keep it brief. People who are tweeting, please tweet UrbanYCA 2018, hashtag UrbanYCA 2018. Like I said, Wi-Fi is free, so don't struggle with your bundles. Yes, so I want to open it up. Where are the roving mics? Okay. So we'll start. Where do we start? The back benches. Let's start at the back. There are 2 hands at the back. There's someone at the back. Do you have a mic at the back? Okay. Okay. Who has the mic? Or someone has a mic here. Okay, please. And be brief, please.
Thank you. My name is Idisuzo Delise. I'm a student. So my question is, you talked about finding solutions for the problems out there in the society, but the question I have is that the youth are interested in many different things. It may be passion, it may be carpentry, it may be architecture, but maybe one person may be interested in maybe all the things, maybe like fashion, architecture, but the question I have is that why did you, what pushed you to choose only fashion that will benefit both the society and both the society and you yourself? So my question is, what pushed you to choose only one thing to be your career, yet you're interested in many things?
Kaveke, that's yours, and I think Muli also alluded to that. So Kaveke and Muli next. Just on this. Oh, at the back, someone with the mic.
Hi, good morning. My question is directed at the fashion designer. I just wanted to know, how are you using fashion to like inspire other people from like marginalized backgrounds? Okay,
Kaveke, people are asking why, you know? Why? Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Philip Muziko. I'm a founder and managing director for certain business and technology company in Congo called Stadella Corporation. I would love to talk in French to please my Congolese citizen, but I will try in English so that the most of this audience get what I'm talking about. My comment is a bit general to the World Youth Connect Africa Committee. And my question will be covered by some suggestions to this committee. This initiative was created with a purpose to promote youth connection in World Africa, as the future of this continent depends on it. Yes, that is possible in some countries and no in other countries, because the question I'm asking myself is this: how can you connect people who are still killing each other every day? How? Okay. So let's take, for example, let's take a case of DRC, my country. The UNDP statistic proved in 2017 that Congolese universities produced 9,000 students every year. It means 9,000 students finish their studies every year, but only 300 get a job after 1 year. Only 300 get a job after 1 year. So can you imagine the number of youth who do not have a job who are in Congo? Can you imagine how Congolese youth can be a victim of every kind of manipulation of politicians and a religion chief? So I'm finishing. So my suggestion is this for this Youth Connect Africa. If they can be organizing like every semester such convention in all different countries of Africa which are members of this community, maybe that can boost those youth which are not motivated to create jobs, or it can also boost those governments, and that can also be an act of peace in the whole Africa. That's my suggestion for this.
Thank you so much. I think that's important, and Rose, maybe you will respond to that. I think it's about decentralizing Youth Connect. Thanks so much. Let's finish with this side, and then we'll come to this side. I haven't forgotten you guys. Where is the mic? Where? Oh, okay, let's come here. The mic is already here. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maria Cristina also work for government, so my question is for Rose. Working for government, I'm a SDG focal point.
Your question is for who?
Rose.
Rose. Okay. Okay. Good.
I'm a SDG focal point for the Parliament of Madagascar, and working for government as a youth is not easy at all. Other youth do not understand you. They think that, oh, how can you bring positive change from this system that is already corrupted? And I know how it is to protest against the government you are serving, so we are friends. So I would like to know how do you do to encourage other youth to join you, and my second question is what are the impact of this not too young to run bill? Yeah, I've seen some positive impact because we want to have the same in my country, and this is my personal advocacy too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much. Two more, and then we come back to the panel, and then we'll have another round.
Hello.
Where's the mic? Oh, okay.
Jambo. I'm from Congo, and I'm from Ensemble pour la Différence, who are an incubator of social business. And for that, we are also in technologies, and there's a big problem we have seen in our activities, and it is the technologists like to do innovation. It is a passion. They are doing for free, for nothing. They are only love to do it. So that's not mean they are resolve something, some problem. They are do only. My question it is for Naomi and others who are in technology. What is your strategies to do a technologist to be focused to resolve problem and not to innovate only for a passion? Yeah, thank you.
Great. Naomi, I hope you got that. Let's get one more question from this side, and then we come back to the panel. Then I'll come back to that other side. We'll have another round, don't worry. I'm seeing you guys. Uh-huh. Give the mic somewhere here. There are so many hands here.
Should have done in the front here.
Yes.
Hello. I'm Douglas from Kenya, and my question is a bit general. So, in a bid to solve the problems we're facing as the youth, what is the possibility or what is the connection between the political goodwill and the solutions that as the youth we can have? Is there any connection between them? And if yes, what can be done to that? Thank you.
Okay, Lawrence and Dennis, the political goodwill. Let's get our panelists to respond, and please be brief so that we can have another quick round before we get our other two panelists on board. So we start with Kaveke.
Thank you very much for your question. It's very interesting that you ask about why fashion specifically. And I guess for me, because I'm in this space, because as I said, I'm a fashion brand and I've been in the fashion business for 15 years. So this is definitely the only way I see for myself is I'm in the space where I can drive an agenda through what I love. And when you think about it, your role in society is really to play a role that you're not just being passive, but you're contributing. And I think for me, this is an opportunity I saw through this gender, is that as much as I'm in fashion, there are so many other social issues that can be addressed using what I love. And I think what's unique about what I do is it's a very unconventional way, and we understand it because this is a hands-on. A lot of us are not necessarily people who understand it from a book point of view or a technical point of view, but you understand it from learning it in the field or learning it from someone else. And I think that's why it's very specific for me. And for answering about inspiring other people, it's important that as you continue to grow or increase your innovation, is really for you to understand you occupy a very sensitive space where you are not just creating for yourself, but you are influencing other people around you. And I think that's basically for me why I see I'm in the space where unconventional way is the way forward.
Thank you so much. Lawrence? Yeah.
I think the question for the lady who asked about fashion has been very well addressed by Kaveka. I'll just add a very, very small thing. Why not? Why not fashion? I think the bigger question is how do you then use fashion or what you're passionate about to actually drive change? And I think if we learn something from the global north is that successful people are not people who got jobs, got promoted, and then they got into a position where they can make change. It's people who identified a need in society, something they're so angry and so passionate about that they can't even sleep. Then they looked at what comes naturally to them. Is it fashion? Is it music? Is it arts? Is it culture? And then they looked at how do you utilize what you have and the enabling environment that government is providing, like we're being told about Makueni County, and to then address that issue and that problem that you have. So it's about what naturally comes to you as a young person, looking within your community of practice, who's doing the same thing, organize, mobilize, partner, network, and then from there have a movement that is then addressing the issues and the problems in society. The second question about the political goodwill and the vision for young people and how you find a middle ground. I mean, we're very privileged to have Professor Gibuda Gibona here, who's one of our very integrous and leaders in
Actually,
Kenya.
you should
that
give
we
him a
look up
round
to.
of applause.
Thank you
really.
so much. And I can tell you, if you ask him today, he will tell you there's 1,001 things that young people come to every single day in the office. And while we're here as young people saying political goodwill, any politician will listen to somebody who's adding value to their vision. Because there is already the vision, the plan, the framework, the structures, the systems, the processes. But as young people, we need to be relevant to the existing frameworks that are there and look at how we can partner, mobilize, organize, and ensure that we are actually adding value to what exists. So any politician will actually listen because you are actually adding value to what they actually are doing. And the other big assumption that we need to address as young people is we need to earn the right to be heard. You're not just heard because you're young. You need to ensure that you are, bringing a value proposition to allow, people to create spaces for you. And when you get in, then you prioritize not just yourself, but also an opportunity for others to achieve their full potential, to exercise their, full citizenship, but also, above all, ensure that you're creating bigger spaces for young people who will come after you. So I think it's a two-way thing, but we need to be a bit more strategic as we engage the leaders that are, going before us.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Rose?
Yeah, for me, I'll ask the question from DRC, where the political will, everybody keeps talking about that. But I can tell you one thing using my country, Nigeria. It can be a cliche. I work in government where they say, oh, enabling business. But trust me, the young people in Nigeria are the most innovative, most resilient people. You don't have to wait for government. Like Jack Ma says, if the government is there, be out. So that's the way you have to create a niche for yourself. Sometimes, as young people, how you know you will disrupt things is when you see the problem. That's where the opportunity is. But we keep complaining, government this, government that. I can remember I used to challenge government. I never knew I would be at the table of government. But one thing I always saw is where there are challenges. Like I would walk up to Ministry of Youth and look, we have no youth representation. And trust me, they were like, okay, come on board, help us. True, sometimes the government don't know what to do. But for me, in terms of boosting the young people, where you see problem, that's where the solution lies and opportunities. Like take, for instance, in Nigeria, we're faced with different crises, like the Boko Haram, but trust me, in terms of peace building, young people are playing a better role than the government. So in this case, I would just advise young people that when you see problems, see it as an opportunity. That's for the DRC. And for the question from the lady from Madagascar is how you bring young people on board. Yeah, because now the table has changed. Trust me, if I was an entrepreneur, Mutinta knows, I would be saying different things. But honestly, we've tried in our own way because, like take for instance my office, we've done policies, like we have the Economic and Recovery Growth Plan, and one of our focus in investing in people, which is all about the human development of young people. So now the government knows you need to bring young people at the table. we no longer want to be on the menu. I keep telling government, look, you have to involve them in the table. You need to hear from them because they alone have the solutions to their own problems because they feel it. So one of the things, being in government, is encouraging young people to do what they need to do. Like, take, for instance, we have a network of young people working on the SDGs. Trust me, when they were setting up the Presidential Council, I was not happy because there was no youth representation on that Presidential Council on the SDGs. But guess what I did? I told the office, like, yeah, they'll come through Ministry of Youth, yeah. But I went behind the office to call young people who are stakeholders, in, more of CSOs, global shakers, different, doing different things, peace, justice, and I spoke to them, look, you need to come to the office. This is what we're doing, but we have underrepresentation. So you need to come and fight for your rights, that you need a voice on the Presidential Council. And we had this closed-door meeting. My office didn't know I went behind to give them the rumor that, look, there's no youth on this platform. So one of the things is we can be there to make the change, but also the will from the young people. But guess what? After the meeting, it broke my heart. They fought who will be the person on the council. And that's how we lost out. So it's very easy to condemn government, but we are young people, particularly in Africa. We need to get our acts together. Like Lawrence said, we need to be resolute. We need to start looking at the solutions. We need to be selfless. We need to address issues. Because every young person wants to be the one in charge of Nigerian youth and all that. Like today, Nigeria doesn't have a youth council. When they set up committees, they act bigger than the president. The guy has he has more convoy than even the president of Nigeria. No, so we need to also look at our own issues, the issues we have internally, based on our attitudes. Yeah, it's easy to blame the government, but sometimes on the underside, when I bring up government issues, it's like, we don't want trouble. But so these are ways you could do things. Being in government, I've encouraged people. I've worked with UN Habitat. When they first met me, I wasn't in government, but they saw my passion in how we organize things to hold the African Regional Roundtable towards Habitat 3. And by the next time they called me, I said, guess what, I'm not in government. They were not surprised. But one of the things is you have to keep doing your thing. You don't have to wait for government. If you keep changing the status quo, if you disrupt things, thank God with technology, you don't need much money to change the narrative in your own community. Then in regards to the Not Too Young to Run bill, well, I can tell you that organization did start overnight because we're usually on the table. I used to be on many committees with the Ministry of Youth to address youth issues where they call us, we want to do policies and all that. That youth organization has been there for over 10 years, but they were doing their own work. Consistency, determination, tenacity, over time. Now everybody wants to be part of YEGA, but they've been there. I remember how we've always been on a table. We go for meetings with government. They don't offer us water. They just put us on the table. So, but you could tell that it's not easy. Most of us want success story overnight. It's not going to work. So if you want to do something, keep doing your thing, and with that you can change life. So the Not Too Young to Run bill came about. A lot of advocacy was done. Of course, we're tired of the same old people. If you look at the two presidential candidates for 2019 also, they're not young, but they say they're not too old to retire as well. So the ways we did that was through advocacy. And guess what? It was through social media, and it's free. So they raised awareness about the Not Too Young to Run bill, and when it was thrown out from the National Assembly, we marched to the National Assembly. I left the office, and my colleague was like, are you going for this march? I said, yes, because who knows if government throws me out. So it's something they've worked with over time, but as young people, we need to be innovative in addressing issues. And one of the platforms they used was through social media, and of course, with the support of development partners and with the support of the young people, we're able to achieve that. And now everybody's using it as their presidential manifesto. But trust us, it took that organization years. Then lastly, connection between political goodwill. Well, for me, I always say it's energy, resources is not enough. We need good political will, but where there's no political will in our own sphere of life, people say, creating the enabling environment, government does that. But as young people also, we lack access to information. I don't know, I can't say for East Africans, but in terms of Nigeria, there's so many information out there, like Lawrence said, there's so many frameworks. We have the SDG framework, Agenda 2030, 2063, New Urban Agenda, so many things. But at the end of the day is, if you have information to all these things, as business owners, you can look where the future is. The future of work is going to be based on, if your business is not addressing an issue, then you're not in business. Gone are those days where you're doing business for profits. Look at the, like my friend into fashion. Who would have thought fashion would partner with Samsung? Has that, these are things you need to look at. That the narrative has changed, so we need to start thinking big and think of different ways and innovative ways to disrupt things. And trust me, if there's a problem, that's where the opportunity lies. Don't go to the greener area.
Thank you so much, Rose.
Yes,
thank you so much. Not too young to run, really. Let's give her a round of applause. Now, Dr. Naomi.
Thank you very much. I want to address the issue of strategy to make innovations to solve problems. Let me start by giving the state of Makueni. The youth of Makueni have this strategy. It would have come out very well if I mentioned it in our language, but interpreted in English, it says...
There are translators here. That can be Channel 3, don't worry. Yeah.
Okay. In Kiswahili, we say, vijana jawabu ni sisi. That is the youth. That means the youth believe they are the solutions to the issues around them. And so it means anytime they come up with an innovation, they are trying to solve a problem. They are trying to address an issue. And therefore, when we approach innovations in this way, we are saying we are not just doing it for the sake. We are addressing a certain issue. And the other thing is that when a youth comes up with an area to pursue, they are taking it as their way of earning, as their livelihood. And therefore, they cannot joke around with it. So one thing that I would really encourage the youth to look at innovations is to take it as a way of engagement. And therefore, when you take it as that, you are not just doing an innovation in any field just for the sake of it. You are saying, this is my lifeline, and this is how I'm going to get engaged. And that way, you will take it with the seriousness it deserves. Governments have a responsibility of providing the framework for youth to innovate to solve problems by providing the infrastructure and all that it takes for youth to provide permanent solutions to the problems that we have in this nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think we'll have a second round of questions, but this is the way. Before we do that, I'm going to ask Ali and Kaveke to leave the stage and connect with the people. And then I'll ask, so let's give them a round of applause as they, actually you guys have passed the exams, that's why you have to leave the stage. And I'm going to ask Shamake Abdullahi, who is the Program Management Officer at UN Habitat, to join us here. Let's give a round of applause to Shamake. And then I also want to welcome Farine Mwende. Farine she's from Nairobi, and she's also a Mandela Washington Fellow. And she has a lot of experience working with communities, organizing communities. Let us give her a round of applause. So before we get another round of questions, I just wanted Farine to tell us a little bit how they've been, they have a model called the BEATS model, and largely to reach young people who are unreachable. You know, it's easy to reach you and I who are in suits and ties. You know, we can attend these forums, so we can read posters, we can go to the website, but there are young people in the informal settlements who have no access, for example, to technology, who have no access to the information that we have. Levels of illiteracy perhaps are even higher there. And so they try to reach out to these young people and provide technology as a means for them to innovate and to create opportunities for themselves and for their community. So maybe Farine can tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. So I'm Farine Mwende, and I work for Nairobi's Trust. It's a non-governmental organization based in Nairobi. And like Raphael mentioned, we basically reach out to young people living in informal settlements. It's a special kind of a group to us because other than just reaching out to young people in informal settlements, we reach out to out of school young people in informal settlements. So these are young men and women who haven't had the opportunity to go on with their studies. They've never been to tertiary institutions of learning. And why are we reaching out to them? We are reaching out to them to empower them with employability skills so that they're able to effectively compete in the job market together with their counterparts who've been to colleges and universities. So we do this through the BEATS model, which is anchored on partnerships with community-based organizations. We reach out to community-based organizations in all the slums and informal settlements in Nairobi. And through them, they link us to youth organizations who identify youth who are interested in ICT and they would like to join our training program. So we run our training program under 3 projects. The first one is Intake. And in Intake, we create safe spaces for both boys and girls in the informal settlements to come and learn programming, to come and learn design. And they do this in 3 stages. So they go through the first level where they're introduced to the basics. And then the second level, they even go deeper into understanding what is coding all about. And then the third level now, they get to specialize on either design or programming. After that, we link them to a group of professionals who we call our business partners, who offer them internships and jobs. And then the other project under that is the SysTech project. Initially, when we began this training, we realized that a very small percentage of girls come to our training centers to be trained. And this is because of the whole stereotype that ICT is a male-dominated field. So to address that, we set up girls-only centers within the community, just to encourage girls that, hey, you can come to a safe space within your community, interact with other young girls, and you can become techies, just like men. And then also, these girls were dropping out of high school because of teen pregnancies, which is a topic that was addressed in this room yesterday. So we came up with the Sexual Reproductive Health Rights Program in order to address this. So we run that program, but we tie it to ICT and innovation. What are those innovative solutions that young people can come up with? And then lastly, I would like to touch on inclusivity. Our program really emphasizes on this. And when I came in this room this morning, I looked around for a sign language interpreter, and I was just wondering, is it because we don't have young people in the room who are impaired in terms of they have hearing impairment? So it's even a challenge to the organizers of this conference that it's important. If we want to connect youth at the global level and continental level, then let's include every young person, including youth living with disabilities. So we also reach out to these special kind of young people within the informal settlements, because most of them, other than being marginalized, they've marginalized themselves. They think because I'm living with a disability, then I don't have a voice. There's nothing much I can offer to make Africa a better place. But we are out there in those informal settlements telling them, hey, you might not have gone to college, but you can contribute to the development of Africa. You might be living with a disability, whether we can see it or it's a silent disability, but you have something to contribute on the table.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Shamake, I think there is the issue of the models of financing, and I know you've been doing quite a bit in terms of creating models through which you can start, you can support, youth innovations, young entrepreneurs. I think you need to share with us a little bit about that, but also tell us where is the money, because young people have great ideas, they have great innovations, but where is the money to support some of these ideas, to support some of this creation? Who has the money so that young people can go after them?
Good morning, everyone, and thanks, Raphael. I'm not sure I know exactly who has the money, but I can, think outside the box with you all to kind of think about collectively what are new ways of financing and maybe share some best practices. So at UN Habitat, since 2009, we've had an Urban Youth Fund, and basically the purpose of the Urban Youth Fund really is to get from policy and put money in young people's hands to say, we trust you enough to put resources in your pockets and coach you throughout that process. So we're not just giving resources to young people. And the grants range from about $10,000 to about $25,000 to young people directly globally. So just to give you some stats on what we've been doing and how many projects that we've funded since 2009, there's been 284 youth-led groups that have been funded in 66 countries and 172 countries across Africa, Asia Pacific, Arab states, Latin America, and the Caribbean. So from the pool of funded recipients, 559 social enterprises have been formed and over 30,000 youth have been trained. So as I was saying, when we put resources in young people's hands, we do this comprehensive training to make sure that young people know how to manage these resources, how do you report back some of those resources, and make sure that we're equipping you with skills. And we're not leaving you with just the money in your pocket, but once we do the capacity building, we also partner up, similar to your initiative, we partner them with mentors to guide them through this process for the duration of the project. And the projects last anywhere between 6 to 9 months. And one of the things that we've learned across, and since doing this since 2009, has been that, we don't need to invest lots of money in young people. We're not looking at pockets of $100,000 to $200,000 of funding. I think $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $25,000 of funding can go a long way for youth-based organizations and what they could do. I think Raphael asked an important question. I won't be long, and I'm mindful, and I want to really engage you guys. But one of the things that we've been talking about internally at UN Habitat is, how do you harness the potential of young people and this age of participation? So looking at crowdsourced funding, and how do you open up the pools of resources? Instead of thinking about the old way of coming to governments, the reality is money is certainly not in governments. Money is in the private sector. More and more ways of coming around. Just to show of hands, how many people are familiar with Kickstarter? Yeah, so it's a crowdsourced funding website where you just post your great idea. And I think one of the things that I'd love to suggest and maybe recommend with Youth Connect is maybe coming up with a crowdsourced funding idea for Youth Connect, where young people can propose their ideas, and out of that kind of evaluate some of the good ideas and build some mechanisms to support the ideas. So not just, again, fund the different initiatives that young people are coming up with, but once the crowdsourced funding is available. And I met so many great investors yesterday at different workshops and just meeting through the hallways. And people want to invest in young people's ideas. But I think the challenge for young people sometimes is articulating the results framework. How are you going to show impact in terms of what you're doing? So it's fantastic, and I'm happy we had a gentleman here who's looking at the fashion industry to kind of think outside the box, to think of how can I use fashion, again, or business to do good. And I think Rose is right. Gone are the days where you want to make money and that's it and sit on your ivory tower. If you want to make change and create change in this continent, figure out how you can also connect, making money to social good. And I think people want to get behind good ideas that can show results at the end of the day. So I'll end with those comments.
Okay, thank you so very much. I was just being reminded, let's give them a proper round of applause. Yeah, I'm just getting a note that we are required at the plenary because there is another session. And I wanted to take another round of questions, but maybe let me just take two. And if it's a burning one too.
One already has his mic.
Okay, here.
How can a person with a wheelchair access this platform? Because I think there is a person who is on a wheelchair and there are leaders somewhere. How can they be in this panel? You have to carry them. We need to make everything accessible to people with disability. They are human, they have vision, they have feelings. We need to address the issue. And the other thing is about, I was thinking of an idea for our youth. I don't know how you feel volunteership in our African, because many youths are learned and they have the skills. They can only volunteer in institutes and places, how can this be empowered with only volunteership? And we need to look at another, how can we come with a system that can empower our youth to come out of poverty? Because I think you will see like a student from university graduating maybe with a loan from the university, and you tell them they need to volunteer and get 5 years of experience. How will we expect our youth to come up? Can we have a solution to bring our youth to empowerment and to enable them to change our society? Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I think she summarized it so well. You know, inclusivity, inclusivity, inclusivity. We must look at youth in the diversity. And like UN normally says, no one should be left behind. Very last question or comment.
My name is Zakaria.
Yes,
I am a Nigerian based in Kenya.
Give it a punch, because you're the last person, eh?
Yeah, I'm a Nigerian based in Kenya. I am a co-founder of an international organization called Youth for Sustainable Development. And my question goes to everybody here. You know, entrepreneurship, the model, the way entrepreneurship is going is that a lot of people talk about developing, especially in Africa. A lot of people talk about people developing without the government. Like, we shouldn't think about what the government can do for us. We should think of what we can do ourselves. But the fact that when we continue to give government these kind of excuses, it's not fair, because in the past 40, 50 years of Africa, the miserable condition we have been in Africa is as a result of the direction by which our government are going to. So why is it sometimes when we bring entrepreneurs and when we bring people who are kind of like doing what they do well and they are doing cool, pretty cool about what they're doing, why it has a question to everybody. Yeah, and I'm very happy that she's here because she's in government and also my fellow Nigerian here. But the issue is that why do we always give government the excuses? Why a lot of things in Africa are happening all over different countries, which we don't really talk about. We assume these problems are not there. We saw them on news lines. We saw what happened in Uganda to Bobby Wine. You know, we have a lot of youth who are doing something, but the government is just trying to put them down. And we should also realize that if we want to be successful, if we want to really move forward in Africa, we should also see that our fate also lies in the hands of the government, not just entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much. That is a quotable quote. Our fate also lies in the hands of the government. Let's give him a round of applause. To my panel here, I just want to thank you. I know you would have wanted to engage more and more, but I think we're being told that we do not have time, and since they are just about to switch off the mics and the electricity, I don't want to embarrass my panel. I want to thank all of them, and I want us to give them a round of applause. Let's give them. I'll show you how to clap for a distinguished panel. Just you warm, you know, so when I say slowly, you go slowly. When I say fast, you move fast. When I say drop, you drop. When I say drop, you. When I say drop, you. Okay, let's start slowly, 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 fast, 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 fast. Slowly, slowly, slowly. You've seen traffic police coming, so just go slowly, slowly. Move fast. The traffic police has disappeared. Move fast. I didn't say drop, man. Let's go slowly, slowly, slowly. Fast, 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 fast. Drop. Drop again. Thank you so very much, our distinguished panel, and thanks to all of you. Let's clap for ourselves also. And I want to encourage us to interact with each other, interact with the panelists. They are here, and please get their contacts. They are on Twitter, they are on Facebook, they are on Instagram, Snapchat, right? Snapchat, yeah? You're on Snapchat, so you can get them on Snapchat, and WhatsApp and all those others. And also, please take time to interact with fellow participants. It's extremely important. From my side, I just want to thank all of you, and to thank UN Habitat and Mutinta. Let's give her a round of applause. She's the one who's made. Let's give her a proper round of applause. She's the boss here, you know. Yes, for the announcements, Two announcements. One is I'm being told there is a site visit from 2 p.m. There are two sites visits. One is Kinisagara Youth Center. So people who want to visit that site, please, I'm told you need to register. And then there's the IDP Nodal Village of Gikomero. Yeah, people who also want to visit that particular site. There'll be transportation outside the gate. Yeah, so you can register there, and then they will give you, at 2 p.m. It's at 2 p.m. today. And then also I want to, the second announcement, and equally important or most important, is that at 11:15 we are going to have another session in the main auditorium. Some of these speakers will be there, but most important, we'll also have the governor from Makueni County, who has sat here with us. Really, is that how we clap for governors? Anyway, the governor from Makueni is going to be on that particular panel. So I again invite all of you. It will be from 11:15 to 12:30. Yeah, please be at the main auditorium. And if you have any questions that you haven't exhausted, or you still feel you want to engage or to present, please be at the auditorium. Let's start on time so that we have more time for engagement. Again, thanks to all of you, and all the very best for the rest of the session. Thank you.